New technologies not only lower the entry barriers for new players, they also lower the barriers for billions of low-income people to benefit from financial services, for better protection, for better prospects. Theoretically, that is. For some reason, financial inclusion is not top of the agenda at most financial institutions, which is a shame in view of how many people could benefit. In the following 30 minutes, Samantha Primaka, partner at McKinsey, will interview our guests on how to put financial inclusion into practice and, moreover, at scale, and how insurance companies can unlock massive new markets in the process. Ready to reboot your organization and make a difference? Then reimagine financial inclusion.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha, and I'll be your host for this talk show on reimagining financial inclusion. Please welcome my talk show guests. So it's three social entrepreneurs, truly inspirational, and they will share with us their view on what it takes to make insurance and protection accessible in emerging markets, and also what it takes for the insurance industry to rethink the industry to make it more financially inclusive. So let me introduce our first talk show guest, which is Jeevan Abes. So Jeevan is the founder of Lami Insurance Technology, which is based in Kenya. And it's an end-to-end digital insurance platform and API, which is able to connect across industries to provide insurance products. And before becoming a social entrepreneur, Jeevan actually worked as a trader in London. So Jeevan, how come a trader turns into a social entrepreneur insurance? What actually inspired you to go into that industry?
It was actually a very random encounter that I had. So I was visiting Kenya, which is where I'm from, for holidays. And I had a conversation with a waiter who told me he didn't have any medical insurance. And then, as somebody who had always had a protection, a medical insurance policy, I started to wonder what was the barrier towards him having this kind of protection. So I started to do some research. And the statistics that I was finding was actually pretty shocking, that there's less than 3% insurance penetration across Africa. Although there's more than 50 insurance companies operating in the Kenyan market, they're not really reaching people that need these products. So the distribution mechanisms were really broken. And I guess it sort of inspired me to want to come back home and sort of try to fix this problem. Entrepreneurship, I guess, has always been something that I saw as a norm. My family are entrepreneurs, so it wasn't as scary as it would be maybe for most people. But I was pretty excited about having the chance and opportunity to actually make a difference and provide this kind of protection and coverage to people that need it.
So coming back to Lami technology, how do you envision this technology to revolutionize the insurance industry in Eastern Africa?
There's a lot of problems in particular that the insurance industry in Africa faces. So one of them is really that the kind of products that are offered don't really fit the needs of today. So that's the first problem, is that there's no relevant products for people that need it. The second problem is that there's been so many insurance providers in the market for a long time, and a lot of people are not able to trust what these insurance companies are offering. So there's a lack of trust towards claims being processed. Also, the kind of coverage that people are getting, because they don't really understand what these policies are offering. And there's not really a lot of effort made by insurance companies to actually make it clear as to what it is they're offering. So I would say that for us, some of the most interesting things, the most interesting thing for us is seeing how we can use technology to actually bridge those gaps. So, make the purchase flows super easy, onboarding, KYC, making that seamless as well. And then from that, being able to plug into places that customers are actually on. So whether that's other digital platforms, whether that's through banks, whether it's through purchase flows that are built through our APIs as well, making that customer journey as easy and simple as possible. and the claims process as well. So making sure that we're actually paying attention to what the claims process means to the customer. How do you ensure that there's actually a human element as well, so that in case there are any issues, people feel like that level of trust is being built. And we believe that over time, hopefully we're going to be able to overcome some of these issues. Another thing is really the cultural relevance of insurance in Africa. Like how do you convince people who are earning very little that they need to pay money towards certain kinds of insurance products to protect themselves? And for us, education is really an important part of it. For example, people are often relying on single sources of income. So if people own trucks or if they own a farm, so how can we encourage them to protect these single sources of income to actually preserve the trajectory of their families' lives? So we try to educate as well. And our goal is really to ensure as many people as possible across Africa as possible, and provide them with the kinds of products that they actually need.
And from your point of view, where are still the growth opportunities in the emerging insurance markets, and what does it need to address them?
For a continent that only has 3% insurance penetration, I would say that there's a lot of opportunity for growth, probably the most anywhere in the world. I would say that, it's really about I believe it's really around the distribution. So how can you create better distribution networks? How can you build in insurance products into the normal general things that people are doing on a day-to-day basis? So if somebody's buying a car, a house, how do you make sure that all those services and goods that people are buying are actually coming with the relevant insurance products? And I think that's where the opportunity really is, as well as empowering insurance providers, because we don't have a shortage of insurance companies on the continent. The problem is that they're not able to actually reach these customers. So how can we help them, understand the customer better? How can we help them provide products based on research, based on insights and data? And I would say that, those are really where the opportunities lie.
Thanks a lot for sharing, Jeevan. Let's come to our second talk show guest, Gustav Argetson. So Gustav, you're the founder of BIMA, which offers digital health solutions, including insurance coverages. And BIMA by now operates across 9 countries in Africa and Asia. And you reached 35 million subscribers within 10 years. And before this, you are actually working in the telecommunications industry.
Yep.
So, Gustav, how does an insurance product need to look like in the emerging markets, and how does it differ from what we know in the established markets?
Yeah, I fully agree with what you said earlier about the trust side. So one of the challenges that we see is that when customers are buying insurance for the first time, and 75% of our customers are buying insurance from us for the first time. And that means that they don't know whether we as an insurance provider or other insurance provider are going to pay out the claims. So that's one challenge we have to overcome. The other one is that we get feedback from customers where they say that, okay, I've been paying for insurance cover now for like 12 months or 18 months. I didn't get any tangible benefits back. So if you haven't made a claim, you don't get anything in return for the insurance provider, but still they're paying on a recurring basis. So for us, it's been really tough with just insurance to have a satisfied customer base. You can have satisfied customers because they've gone through the claims process and, as you mentioned earlier, had a good experience then. But the problem with, especially we started with life insurance products and then we moved into health, but our challenge was that after like a year, a small share of our customer base had actually tried to make a claim. And they felt that something was missing. For the traditional insurance industry have always argued that customers are paying for peace of mind, and that's enough. But what we have seen with our customers in the markets we operate is that they don't buy that. They want something more. So the way we solve for that and also the trust element is that we've expanded our product portfolio to go beyond insurance. So in most of our markets, Our policies also include access to telemedicine services. And we've also developed something we call our health wallet, which means that every month that you pay the premium, you're basically building up a balance in that wallet, and you can use that balance to pay for medication or medical equipment, mosquito nets, or anything else related to your health. So with those additional product components, we can create onboarding journeys where we encourage customers to connect with a doctor or to make a purchase using their health wallet. So during the first 2-3 months of their lifetime, they have a kind of tangible benefit coming back to us. They see that when they try to connect with our doctors, they're there and they serve them. So by doing that, we give them some value early on in the lifetime, and we also prove to them that we're there to serve them. And our hypothesis has been that by doing that, they're also likely to believe that we will pay out the claim in the future.
Thanks a lot. So now we have a better understanding of how the product would need to look like. What about distribution? So how do you make sure that the product actually reaches a customer who is clearly not used to buying insurance products?
So what we've tried to build pure digital distribution channels, and we continue to try to do that. So we, for example, integrate with partners like payment platforms in their apps. We are advertising our products on social media, and we encourage customers to kind of opt in and subscribe themselves. But for us, at least, it's been really tough to generate any kind of substantial volume through those channels. So what really worked for us has been to have, similar to what you mentioned when it comes to claims, that you have that human touch, the human element. While you can say, for example, let's say a ride-hailing company, they can add on accident insurance and something that customers just click, they pay a few cents. I don't think that requires a conversation with the human. But when, at least from our experience, when people are buying life or health insurance, they actually want to speak to someone before they subscribe and start paying. And I think that education element is critical. So what we're doing instead is that we're using data, digital tools to make our sales agents as effective as possible. So whether they're contacting customers, those leads should be filtered or warmed up, etc. So to avoid cold selling. But it's still a sales process where education of the customer is key. What we also see in that those customers actually sign up through pure digital channels. When we afterwards ask for their understanding of the product and what they actually bought, that level of understanding is much lower compared to when there is actually a person talking to them and give them that education. So for us, at least, when it comes to distribution, that human touch and kind of real people being involved in the sales process remains critical, and I think that's going to be the case, at least for us, for the coming years.
And in how far can you build on your experiences from the telecommunications industry now at BIMA?
In the beginning a lot, because our first products were very much integrated with telcos, they were co-branded with telcos, and we, at one point in the beginning, we even included them so they were free for the consumers and they were really bundled in with the core telco service. But now I think the business has evolved, and we're working with all sorts of payment platforms. So I think that experience is a bit less relevant now. But in the beginning, the company, we were very much of a kind of partner to telcos.
Thanks a lot. So over to you, Asha Hassan. You're actually the founder of both doktHERS and Naya Jeevan. So doktHERS is Asia's first Fortune Impact 20 company, and it matches the underutilized capacity of women healthcare providers to the unmet healthcare needs of women across several markets. And Naya Jeevan, which means new life, provides health and well-being solutions to workers along the corporate value chain, so including farmers, distributors, and retailers. Asha, which insufficiencies in the traditional insurance industry actually motivated you to start both of those businesses?
Thanks for having me on your show, first of all. The first, I'd say the major inefficiency that that really drove the creation of both of these organizations is what I refer to as a lack of imagination. A lot of insurance companies have either ignored or missed out on an opportunity, which I'll describe. So in the country we operate in, Pakistan is a country of 220 million people. Most insurance companies are focused either on the top of the pyramid, which is about 5% of the population, so about 10 million lives, or micro insurance companies or the government has focused on the very bottom of the pyramid, which is about 30% of the population, about 60 million lives. What that means is that 65% of the population, over 130 million lives, remain uninsured and financially excluded. So we decided that that's the segment that we would focus on. We refer to it as the missing middle. So Naya, Jeevan, now the question is, how do you distribute to that segment, and how do you make it affordable for that segment to be able to purchase insurance? So those two problems are what Naya Jeevan has been solving. The affordability way is that it works with multinational corporate partners, and it identifies low-income workers in the value chains. So they could be farmers, they could be suppliers, they could be distributors, they could be retailers, they could be factory workers. We aggregate these populations, we bring them under a single group, and then we have companies like Unilever, Reckitt, and others finance the health plan of these workers as part of market-based incentive or workforce retention or supplier quality control or customer loyalty programs. So the end user does not actually finance the product. It is financed strategically by multinationals that have a business case for enrolling these people into their health plans. In terms of distribution, we get the same corporate partner to distribute our product through their value chains. So it's a nice model because they are paying us to distribute our product, which is nice. In terms of doktHERS, the reason why doktHERS was created, one of the reasons, is that you may not know, but over 300,000 female doctors, licensed female doctors globally, are excluded from the workforce. And there are three reasons for their exclusion. One, rigid health systems, which have not accommodated to the needs of contemporary women. Second is hostile work environments. And third are social cultural barriers. So at doktHERS, as you mentioned, we match the underutilized capacity of these healthcare providers to the unmet needs of health seekers with a specific focus on women.
And how come that you actually focus on women specifically with doktHERS?
So I think it's well known, this is true both in the industrialized world as well as in the developing world, that women receive inferior care to their male counterparts, both in terms of quality as well as quantity. To give you a few examples, when we first launched our health plan, a number of our female members gave us customer feedback, and they said, we have a cultural preference for seeing female physicians. And they also reported a couple of incidents where they felt molested or violated through inappropriate pelvic exams that were conducted by male gynecologists. So in our part of the world, that's a big taboo. And again, the challenge was how do you get female physicians back into the workforce? So at doktHERS, they work remotely from home, and we have frontline workers, nurses, who go into their homes or go into communities or factories or corporate offices and connect beneficiaries to these remotely located doktHERS.
And now reflecting on your experiences with both of those companies, where do you see the biggest problem in the traditional insurance world? And what would they need to do to better address needs in the emerging markets?
Sure. So I think that one of the biggest challenges is a challenge where insurance companies have a short-term focus on profit. And part of the problem linked to that is that they are product-centered, not human-centered or customer-centered. In other words, the products that are being designed are designed in a way that are convenient to the insurance company and aligns with their interest of financial risk reduction or financial risk mitigation. They are not designed with the needs of the customer in mind. So my recommendation to insurance companies is twofold. One is to co-create products with the customer so that actually the customer needs are really well described, delineated, etc. The second thing is that there is a lot of innovation going on. You've heard from two of my colleagues who are both innovators, and I believe that insurance companies should not view us as competitors, but as collaborators. And if they see us as enhancing the value of their products, then I think that dynamic will shift from competition to collaboration. And obviously at Naya, Jeevan and doktHERS, we welcome collaboration with all multinational companies.
Thanks a lot, Asha. So over to you, Airline. Airline's here. So she has more than 15 years of experience working with multinationals, but also with growing social ventures. And she's actually the co-founder of several social ventures in the microcredit space, and also has a leading role with Ashoka, an organization that supports social entrepreneurs. And she's also the book author of Reimagining Financial Inclusion. So, Airline, what is financial inclusion to you?
So what it is to me is that it's a very urgent issue. I just want to mention that basically the other half of our world population is currently not having the access to insurance, something that we all of us consider to be very normal in our life, to have, to protect and to manage our lives and have a good, have a well-off life. So I think that's one of the most important things I would like to say. It's very urgent. And just to say that 4 out of 5 people in emerging countries have never bought an insurance before. So if this issue was easy to solve, or if it was very profitable, we would not sit here and discuss this, right? So let me state that. And I think it's wonderful because nowadays, compared to last century, we have technology that could actually make it happen. Look at Jeevan, Gustav, Asha, they are all having the technology in place to reach the people that are currently not insured. So I think it's very promising message here. If you go out there and you see the embedded insurance solutions and all the artificial intelligence, technology is here, we are able to do it. Well, I would like to stress that I think that technology is actually the easiest part of it, the hardest nut to crack. And actually, Jeevan, you mentioned it, Gustav too, it's about people. Because if I would like to mention what is the unique asset of Jeevan's and Gustav's and Asha's solution, it's not the technology as such, it's actually their ability to weave an ecosystem full of partners that actually collaborate and create shared value that are really appreciated in the lives of the people that are currently not included. So it's actually the people skills that they have to build those collaborations with those partners to work in an ecosystem and then serve to the needs of what the people need. Yeah.
So from your perspective, how can the insurance industry create value in the emerging markets?
They definitely can. I mean, it's an incredible, powerful tool, insurance, especially if you use it as a tool to behavioral change and if you manage to, actually what all those 3 amazing innovators are doing, if you manage to combine insurance as a tool with preventive and educational service, because they already said it all, if you combine that in a bundled service that speaks to the needs of the low-income people, and you are in the lives of the low-income people when they need it, then you can make a difference in the lives. And I think one important thing to understand how you can be there out in the lives and speak to the needs is to really understand, if you ask all the people out there that live from less than $10 a day, and there are many of them in our world, unfortunately, none of them will say that they need insurance. You spoke to that. They won't say that. It doesn't mean that they don't need it, but what they need is actually access to a doctor when their child starts to cough, And then it would be really nice if you have a mobile phone and you can dial telehealth service. So what they need is actually know how to take care of their goats and their livestock and have access to vaccines to protect the goats. Only then an affordable agricultural livestock insurance would be feasible. But I think it's this new notion of an insurance that is combined with educational service and combined with preventive services that should be the mindset shift that we are after. And you can only do it as an insurer if you team up with partners that already play a role in the lives of the people that you want to reach.
Thank you. And last but not least, how do you resolve the issue of affordability in emerging markets?
Yeah, so that's obviously the multi-billion question. So if you ask me, affordability is a prerequisite. Without affordability, we can't get there, right? Financial inclusion. But contrary to the dominant theory of economies of scale, I think affordability is not necessarily only coming with scale. A very important factor to get to affordability is agency. What if I'm able to live a healthy life, like knowing what I eat not to get diabetes, knowing how to drive safely so I don't need my car insurance, right? So that reasoning is the agency to live a healthy, safe, fruitful life. If we give the low-income people and the low-income communities the agency back to live a healthy life, have access to health information, have access to safe driving, know how to take care of your field and not pollute it with fertilizer, if you empower them to have the agency, then you can also offer affordable insurance schemes.
Thank you so much. In fact, thank you to all my talk show guests, and thanks a lot for listening.